principle of autonomy. So just to be able to give the background and then link up with the previous presentation. So I'll highlight briefly on ethics. And then, of course, the 4 ethical principles. And then we will zoom in on the principles of beneficence and non-maleficence. And then in routine practice, that's we routinely encounter in our routine practice as nutrition and dietetics professionals. And then also specifically on we will look at the GAND ethical principle of non-maleficence and beneficence, and how they are relevant to our practice as nutrition practitioners, and also as the professional body as a whole. Okay, so ethics refers to the standards of behavior that tell us how people ought to act. Okay, please, just a minute. I want to just stop my video so that we can preserve the data. Okay, all right. So, and I'll encourage maybe those of us who still have our videos on to stop it so that we can be able to minimize the use of data. All right, okay. So ethics refers to the standards of behavior that tell us how people ought to act in the many circumstances or situations in which they find themselves. So how the standards of behavior, that is expected of us as friends, parents, children, citizens, the country, business people, teachers, and as professionals, of course, as nutrition and dietetics professionals. Okay, so as friends, there are some basic code of conduct that we would expect, okay, from our friends. Of course, you will not expect your friend, okay, to go behind you, gossiping behind you, okay. You'll not be happy to hear your friend gossiping about you or sharing information that is untrue about you. As parents, of course, we expect that parents would take care of their children. And then even as in a marriage, okay, there's a standard of behavior that is expected of the husband and the wife at home. Okay, so that there will be peace in the family, and the progress will also be seen in that family. So they say in the same vein, as professionals and as nutrition and dietetic practitioners, there are the standards of behavior. Okay, that's is expected of us from within the profession. Okay, and even from members of people outside the profession. So the general public, they expect a certain standard of conduct, okay, from anyone professing to be a health professional, and specifically within GAN, anyone professing to be a nutritionist or a dietitian. There's some level of some standard that's expected of us. Okay, so ethics deals with the rightness or the wrongness of our behavior. Okay, so borders on what is right and then what is wrong. And of course, as nutrition professionals, we always want to do the right thing. Okay, we want to do the right thing. We want to encourage others to also do the right thing. Okay, so you want to do the right thing for your patient. You want to encourage your trainee, your intern, your student to do the right and to offer the right intervention to students. And if you are outside the clinical setting, of course, you are in academia or in public health or in any other area, you want to do the right thing, give out the right information. You're going to the field as a researcher, nutrition researcher, to collect data. You want to collect the right data. Okay, you don't want to go and collect the wrong data. So you make sure that your your data collection instruments, okay, are apt and of course up to the standards. Okay, all right. So ethics is also concerned with the motivation behind the behavior. Okay, so why are we doing what? So in our daily interaction or routine interaction of our client or patient within the hospital setting, okay, what is the motivation? Okay, so ethics actually borders on the moral principles on what is right and then what is wrong. Okay, and of course, because ethics largely borders on moral principles, well, it's can be subjective because what is right or wrong may differ depending on the culture or the environment that we find ourselves. So, as a professional body, as a body of nutritionists and dietitians, so what are the moral principles or values that is expected of us, irrespective of our background, ethnicity, age, gender, wherever we are coming from? There are certain level of standards that are expected of us. And of course, the motivation should always be to do the right thing, to do good, and not to cause harm to our clients or patients or the recipient of our service. So in the clinical setting, that will be your patients or your clients. So your motivation will be to do good. Your primary motivation or our primary motivation as nutrition practitioners is not our personal or selfish gain. That should not take precedence. Okay, what should take precedence should be the ultimate good of our clients or patients. Okay, so in the research setting, okay, why do you as a nutritionist or dietitian conduct research? Conduct research to generate data that will inform change. Okay, so change in practice, change in policy, of course, for the ultimate good of the public. Okay, so whatever we find ourselves, our motivation should be to do good and not to cause harm, and that's going to be the premise of our discussion today. All right, so the 4 ethical principles. Okay, in the health profession, actually, the ethical principles have their foundation in medical ethics. Okay, and they are the 4 pillars of medical ethics. The ethical principles are non-maleficence, that is to do no harm. Okay, so as a nutrition practitioner or as a dietetic practitioner, okay, our main aim, okay, is to do no harm. Okay, and then autonomy, you want to also respect the rights of your patient or your client to decide to either participate or undergo the treatment or procedure or intervention that you're prescribing. Okay, or if you're outside the clinical setting as well, you are engaged in public health work mostly, or you're engaged in research. Of course, the recipient of your service. So if the research that your research participants or subjects, etc., they have a right to decide to participate in that research. You cannot force them, and they should never be forced to participate in the research. So autonomy, we should always respect the autonomy of our clients or our service users. Beneficence, and so that's the intention to do good. The intent to do good. So the motivation, our primary motivation, should be to do good. Okay, earlier I mentioned that the primary aim is to do no harm. Of course, if you are doing no harm, okay, you want to do good. So you do good, you do no harm, and of course, respect the right of your clients or service user to participate in your intervention. And then, of course, when whilst delivering your service, whether in academia or research or in any other setting, you want to be fair and equitable in your treatment of all your service users. Okay, all right. So for today's presentation, we will focus on the principles of non-maleficence and beneficence. And hopefully the next CPD, the principle of justice would be addressed in depth. So autonomy, just for recap from presentation we had at our last CPD. So this borders on the freedom to make decisions about oneself. Okay, so we should always be aware that our clients or our service user, in whichever setting we find out, they have the right to make decisions about themselves. Okay, your patient may decide actually to participate in your intervention or to receive your intervention or not. Okay, your research subjects may decide or may choose not to participate, or even at any time when your research participants decide not to go on with the research, they have the right to drop out. Okay. So in the same vein, in the clinical setting, so the patient has been seeing you for the past 3 visits. At any point in time, they can decide to seek a second opinion or to see another dietitian or nutritionist, and that should not make us upset. It should not be upset at that. They have that right. Okay. All right. So the nutrition professional need to respect patient rights to make choices about intervention, even if he or she does not agree with the patient decision. All right. So non-maleficence. So the intent not to inflict harm on the patients. Okay. And this requires that no harm be caused to your patient, the individual, your research participants, the people who are receiving your nutrition intervention or service, whether intentionally, okay, or unintentionally. So we should be aware of that. All right. And then, of course, the principle of non-maleficence also make sure that the intervention that we are offering do not harm the patient or the client or other people and the society that we may be dealing with. Let's have that in mind. So healthcare professionals are obligated not to prescribe intervention they know to be harmful. Okay, intervention you know to be harmful. So if there's a weight loss product, somebody is pushing to you because you are the professional, and whatever you say, your patient or your clients will take it. When somebody is pushing it to you, to recommend to your patient or your client, and you know it will be harmful to them, you know it will impact, it will have some other potential complications along that. Okay, you are not obliged to do that. Okay, all right, because you do not want to cause harm. So violation of non-maleficence is the subject of medical or healthcare malpractice litigation. These days, medical legal issues are increasingly coming up in Ghana. Okay, gone are the days when we were in training, especially those the very senior nutritionists and dietitians among us may be aware. When we're in training, we hear very little of people taking individual medical professionals or nursing professionals or other healthcare practitioners to court. Okay, on the basis of negligence or malpractice or any other malpractice. But these days, it's increasingly becoming a problem. And I think recently there has been a report from one of our major hospitals in Ghana about cases of healthcare professionals and the facility being sued millions of Ghana cedis. And colleagues, we do not want to be the subject of litigation, okay, in our facility. Right. So medical malpractice, an act or omission by a healthcare provider that deviates from accepted standards of practice in the healthcare community. So which causes injury to the patient or client. Yes. So like I mentioned before earlier, medical malpractice is usually based on a violation of the principle of non-maleficence. Okay, so when you cause harm, emotional harm, psychological harm, physical harm, okay, or any other harm, physiological harm, maybe by giving the wrong nutrition intervention, instead of starting with formula 75 for the severely malnourished child, you want to start with formula 100. Okay, or you want to give plant peanuts ready RTF, and instead of starting from maybe formula 75 to stabilize the child's metabolism before you move to the next stage. So when you do that, you cause harm to the child, you can be sued. Your facility can be sued. Okay, so let's be aware of this. And I do not hope that we will hear of any legal issues, and then when we look into it, the nutritionist or the dietitian from amongst us is at the center of it. I mean, I will not be happy about that, and neither will you or your friends or your family or relations. No one will be happy about that. So please, let's be aware of this, and let's make sure that we have these principles at the back of our mind as we go through our routine activities the discharge of our professional duty. So beneficence. So this principle means doing good for others. So your aim or the motivation here is to do good. Okay, to do good. So, and it includes taking positive steps to benefit others, which includes balancing benefits and then the risks, benefits and risks. Okay, so weight management. Okay, do you put every person, every client or patient who comes to your clinic or your consulting room as a nutritionist or the dietitian, you put everybody on weight management? Okay, and to what extent do you go, okay, in your weight management? For instance, you have someone, a 90-year-old client or patient who may be obese, but will refer to you primarily because of hypertension, diabetes. You have to put the person on weight management. Are there other potential risks of putting the patient on weight management? Okay, what is the patient current intake? Is the patient eating well or not? Okay, and are there other issues to address before you even consider weight management? Is it even okay, appropriate to put that patient, that particular, at that age on weight management, etc.? So you need to be able to weigh all that before you go ahead. I remember some time ago when I was at a stroke unit at Kolegu. So we had a patient, an old lady, and had a stroke. Was about 92-year-old lady who had a stroke at the time, and also had dysphagia, so had difficulty swallowing. Okay, and with the prognosis, the dysphagia was a long-term type. Okay, so it wasn't anything we're expecting to resolve in the short to medium term. So, and in that situation, usually the recommendation is to do long-term intervention like gastrostomy. Okay, but this was a very old patient. Okay, and to do the gastrostomy, she may have to undergo some surgical procedure to place the tube feeding directly into the stomach. Okay. So with the cost benefits or the benefit risks analysis, the team decided that she should be put on the tube feeding. Okay, even though the gastrostomy tube will have been the preferred one. Okay, why? Because the potential risks of infection and complication from the surgery far outweighed the benefits of doing the preferred tube feeding. Okay, so in our intervention and our prescription, so if you are the nutritionist or the dietitian managing such a patient, of course, you have to know the right prescription to make. Okay, otherwise, you cause harm to the patient. So you do good. All right. So the practitioner should act in the best interest of the patients. Okay. So doing good means that you are acting in the very best interest of the patients. Okay. So colleagues, so you are the nutritionist or dietitian in the facility. Okay. And then you have some products that's you think or you feel would help the patients. Okay. But look at the situation that we find ourselves currently, the current economic difficulty we find ourselves, the high inflation that we are experiencing. And you have these products in your consulting room, okay? Let's say a low fat product or low sugar product, whatever it is, low salt product, whatever it is. And you have your patients, you want to recommend that to the patient. The price is so high. Okay. And meanwhile, there may be other alternatives, okay, cheaper alternatives outside your consulting room. You want to impose the expensive products on the patient because of potentially what benefits you get from it. Okay, you do that, you are not acting in the very best interest of the patient. Because you impose the expensive products on the patient, remember, it may have implication on other members of the family. Okay, so if they have to spend 100 cedis to buy just one product, what about the other things they also need to cater for? There are the children in the family. Okay, there are other people in the family that they may also need to take care of. Okay, but because you are the authority, whatever you say, they will do. Okay, so they will be forced to do that. If you are doing that, you are not acting in their best interest. Okay, all right. And even some clients, especially the elderly clients, they depend on remittances from their children, other family members. Okay, and you do that. At the end of the day, they may not even have enough money left to buy fruits, vegetables, and other things that will help them. So let's be aware of this. Let's be conscious of the fact that we should always act in the best interest of the patient or the client in front of us. Okay. So we should always have that intention. That should be the overriding aim of whatever intervention that we are offering our patients. Okay. So this requires the healthcare professional to develop and maintain skills and knowledge by continually updating training. Yes. So if we want to do good, or if you in your corner, in your clinic, or in your office as a nutrition professional, okay, whether in the hospital, whether in the training institution, or whichever field you find yourself, okay, if you really want to offer services to benefit the public or people who are directly benefiting from your services, your patients, students, etc., it requires that you keep developing and maintaining your skills and knowledge. Okay, colleagues, nutrition and dietetics, okay, it's a rapidly changing field. Okay, new knowledge, new skills keep coming up every now and then, every year in, year out. Okay, that we need to be abreast of. Okay, so when we sit in our corner, we don't participate in CPD training, we don't take advantage of opportunities to upgrade our knowledge and skills and credentials when the opportunities present themselves. We are not acting on the principle of beneficence, actually, because you cannot give what you don't have. Okay, you cannot impart knowledge that you do not have. Okay. And the good thing is that our guest association always provide us with the opportunity to update ourselves, okay, with the changing changes in our field. So please, let's participate in the CPD programs, okay, and not just because of the points we'll get. If we participate based on the points, then we will just if it's an online program, we'll just log in, okay, and then we do other things while the time runs out, okay. All right, so we should, it also requires the nutrition dietetics professionals consider individual circumstances of all patients. Okay, so patient-centered or client-centered intervention. Okay, so not a one quote fits all. When we do that, we cause harm. Okay, so let's make sure that we make our nutrition information leaflets, okay, which in some, mostly we call them diet sheets or nutrition sheets, whatever. Let's make them such that they are customizable. Okay, so they are not rigid information that we just issue to every patient that visits our consulting room. Okay, and when we even do that, colleagues, it is in my opinion that we even harm the image of our profession. Okay, because with time, then people, other health professionals will relate with other colleagues as well. They will just reduce everything about nutrition and dietetics into that diet sheet or information sheets. Okay, all right. So let's make sure that they are customizable for every patient or individual. Okay, all right. So justice, which is the last ethical principle, is that every individual, every patient, every client, okay, must be treated equally, okay, and fairly. All right, equally and fairly. Now, I won't spend my time here because that will be the focus for our next CPD discussion. But just something brief on that. The patients at our OPD, but they are waiting to see us. Okay, so do we give preferential treatments? Okay, do we allow some to jump the queue? When you do that, those sitting down, already they will be upset in their mind. They come to the consulting room, and whatever we say is not really going in. Okay, because they're already upset. They feel that you have disrespected them, you have not treated them fairly. They also have other responsibilities, and then you are favoring some other people to jump the queue. So let's have that. Let's be aware of that. Right. So I have actually teased out some issues, okay, some issues that we routinely face, or that situation, or some situation that we routinely face as nutrition and dietary professional in our discharge of duty. Okay, and actually they are based on the Ghana Health Services Code of Ethics documents. Okay. All right, so I try to relate what we are talking about, the principle of beneficence and non-maleficence, to these everyday issues that happen in our consulting rooms, in our offices, okay, in our place of work as nutrition and dietetics profession, that we should be aware of. Okay, otherwise it will impact the service we are rendering, okay, and also harm our professional image as individual practitioners, and then as the professional body as a whole. Okay, all right. And then after this, I will specifically also speak to the GAND principles on beneficence and maleficence and non-maleficence. All right. So autonomy. Okay. So for the Code of Ethics expected of us as nutrition and dietetics professionals by the Ghana Health Service. The everyday issues of autonomy that may cause harm if we don't take a particular note of. is what I have brought out here. So you will promote the dignity and privacy and safety of all service users. Okay. So the dignity of your patients or your clients. Okay. You don't talk down on your client or your patients. You don't talk down on your students. If you're a nutrition tutor or nutrition lecturer, okay, you don't talk down on them. But when you do that, okay, they pick that up and they also carry it on. They carry it on to the consulting room, or the next time they're also teaching, they are doing the same thing. All right. All right. So respect the dignity of the people, your subordinates, your students, your patients, your clients, and as well as the privacy of your clients or your service user as well. So confidentiality, very important. Okay. So you do not discuss your patient's medical situation when other patients are there. Okay, you don't do that. Or even sometimes the tone or the volume of our voice when we are discussing this, depending on how the nature of the consulting rooms. Okay, when other people are there, you may never know the next person coming in, maybe the patient's relative or acquaintance or someone they know from the workplace, and they are not really willing to let them know about their medical or health situation. Okay, so let's be aware of even the volume of our voice. Okay, when you are offering your consultation. Okay, if you are too loud and other patients around are listening in, okay, the next patient coming in may not feel comfortable to come, and they may withhold certain information from you, which would also ultimately impact on the outcome of their condition. So when we do that, we have not done the patient any good. Okay, but we are rather causing harm. Okay, all right. So the service users should be given sufficient information and time to enable them to make informed decisions about their health and social care. So give your patients complete information. So if you're the dietitian working in the public sector, in the hospital, etc., or in the clinical situation, okay, do not withhold all necessary information, okay, that the patient will need for their own good. For instance, do not impose a particular product. This product is low fat. Okay, as if it is the only low fat product around. Okay, because probably you will get some benefit or profit from that. You don't do that. Okay, give them the options. Okay, let them decide which one you want to choose. Okay, all right. All right, and also discussions with and about service users should be done confidentially, as I've mentioned earlier. So, the service users' well-being. Okay, so issues that borders on beneficence and non-maleficence when it comes to the service users' well-being, your patients' well-being, your clients, your students' well-being, your research participants' well-being. Okay, so you must not engage in or condone behavior that causes mental distress or physical harm, such as bullying, talking down your patients. Okay, sometimes your patients talking down on your students. There are instances many instances, okay, where your patients may even be older than you. Okay, and you know the society that we are in. Okay, usually people don't usually take it kindly when people they feel they are older than talk down on them. Okay, so let's be mindful of this. Okay, otherwise, a patient that you may actually lose a patient to quacks out there who will sugarcoat whatever false information that they are offering. Okay, so let's be professional in how we communicate with our patients. Okay, all right. So bullying students as well. So you are the dietitian in the hospital. You talk down on your students. Okay, remember, the students are the future of the profession. Okay, so when we join the profession, when we joined as students, nutritionists, dietitians, etc., there were people who were training us. Many of them have retired now. Okay, so when you have retired, okay, what kind of practitioners do you want to take over from you? So it also borders on how the training that you offer. Remember, your student may also pick up that behavior and then replicate it. So let's be mindful of that. All right. And then, of course, neglecting your patient. You need to do all round. And then you neglect the patient, you're doing locum somewhere. You need to come to your office. You are the nutritionist in the office, at your hospital or facility, and you have vulnerable children with malnutrition, pregnant women requiring your intervention. You are somewhere doing locum. Okay, doing locum. You are doing something that will benefit you at the detriment of your clients. When we do that, we are violating the ethical principle of beneficence. We are not doing good. We are also violating the ethical principle of non-maleficence, because at the end of the day, that child may die. Okay, and you will have caused harm to the family, the society, and then Ghana at large. But for all we know, that child may be the next dietitian or even the president of the country, the next doctor, etc. So please let's be mindful of this. Okay, so if you witness or have evidence of behavior which appears to cause unnecessary or avoidable pain or distress, you have a duty. It is your responsibility. Okay, so it is a standard of behavior required of you to make known confidentially to your supervisor or appropriate agency that can act, especially if the individual engages someone about abuse. So report to the next person confidentially for them to act. So remember, we said that ethical principles or ethics have to do with the standard of behavior required of people, dietitians, or any other group of people, in how they conduct themselves in everyday activities. Okay, so it is required of us not to turn a blind eye on any case of malpractice that is going on. Okay, within the remit of our professional practice. Any intervention that may cause pain or distress should first be explained to the service user, who should also understand the nature and then the likely or potential outcome and benefits. Okay, let's be mindful of that. So the duty of care to the service user. So we have a duty of care. Actually, duty of care is a moral and legal obligation to ensure the good of others. In this case, our patient or client or student or whoever may be the person or group of people benefiting from our nutrition or dietetic service. So we have a moral as well as a legal obligation. Okay, so morally, you cannot decide to neglect your patient on the ward. You cannot decide to neglect that malnourished child and then go and do your locum somewhere or engage in your business somewhere. You cannot. Okay, moral, you cannot abandon your patient when it's 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. You leave the office and then no one is there to take care of the patient. And then legally as well, you cannot do that. Okay, it can be the subject of medical litigation. If you do, and then the harm is caused to the patient. You have a duty to ensure that any intervention is likely to benefit or to be of benefit to the service user. Any intervention that you offer, even in the research setting, okay, you cannot conduct a research that will harm your research participants or the group of people or community where you're undertaking the research. No. Ethics will not allow that. So that is why it is also required that before you undertake any human related research, it has to go through ethical scrutiny, okay, to ensure that you are going to conduct that research in a safe and ethical manner, and you are not going to violate the principles of beneficence and non-maleficence. Okay, actually, elsewhere, there's the a principle of distributive justice, where you cannot go and collect research data from the community or group of people. That should also be of benefit to that group, a particular group of people. And then you take the information away, you go and commercialize it, okay, for your own benefits. Okay, it is not acceptable ethically. So you should also be able to demonstrate that after you have conducted that research or intervention within that group of people, how would they benefit when you have folded up your research projects? So the principle of distributive justice also applies, even outside the clinical setting. Okay, so we have a duty to take care of the patient, clients, when they come to a facility. You cannot say that I cannot see you. Okay, I can't see you. So go and see someone else. You cannot do that. Okay. All right. So professional duty of care is established at the moment when you accept a service user for assessment and intervention in your facility. Okay. So you also have to protect the patients, the caregivers, the families, and yourself from infection. Okay. So in your clinic, the setup. Okay, you must take every step to ensure that you protect your patients or the people accessing the service from any potential source of infection. Okay, all right. So make sure that your facility, as much as possible, the space is conducive enough not to facilitate cross infection. Okay, and also appropriate hygiene, sanitation practices within your office space. Okay, to ensure that you protect everyone. You wear your lab coats. Okay, when you are going to the ward, etc. Using the hand sanitizer when you should, especially when you have visited the ward and are coming back to the outpatient department. You should make sure that you protect your patients and clients who may be accessing your facility. So you must take precautions against the risk that you may infect someone else. So if you know or you suspect that you have an infection, a cold, especially in these days of COVID-19, you should get medical advice on medical intervention and act on it. Don't ignore it, because you may also infect your patient. Remember, especially for those of us in the nutrition dietetics field, we usually deal with patients or people who may already be vulnerable, the people with diabetes, stroke, etc. All right. So recording of information, you should keep accurate records. Very, very important. So you may be asking, how does it apply to the principle of beneficence and non-maleficence? If you don't keep accurate records, you are not there. Okay, the next person who takes over from you, okay, may not have the full complement of information to continue the care. Okay, and that could lead to a negative outcome on the patients. Okay, all right. So we should make sure that we document accurately, legibly, okay, and as detailed as possible, whatever procedures or intervention that we offer to our patient. Yeah, so even in the research setting, it is also required that you take good care of your research documents, your data collection documents. You should keep them securely. Okay, all right. And then, of course, you should keep them or store them securely so that they are confidential. Because your research participants or even your patient in the clinical setting, okay, they may not want some personal information of them to be made public, okay, or to be made available to a third party. Okay, so make sure that you keep that information, your research information, or your clinical records in the hospital securely, so that not everybody can just walk into your consulting room and pick the folder or access your electronic health records to be able to get information about your patients. Okay. All right. So personal and professional integrity, you have a duty to refrain from bullying. I've mentioned this earlier, and be aware of how your behavior affects others. Very, very important. Very, very, very important. Okay. All right. So you have a duty to behave safely and responsibly online, particularly in relation to the use of social networking sites, social media, the kind of things you post online. It should be reflective of you as a professional. Okay, you know, these days social media, people just insults people, leaders, etc. You know, let's be aware of that, because you are a professional. You're supposed to be neutral, and then the person you are insulting, the next time maybe your patients, the next time maybe your clients. Okay, so many of us in our practice, we have had the opportunity to attend to patients or clients or people from across the social spectrum. Okay, so be careful about the kind of words and the things you post online. Okay, all right. So you must not breach client confidentiality, patient confidentiality, okay, research participant confidentiality. You cannot and you should not do that. Okay, engage in potential libelous gossip. Okay, so the patient has come to see you. This patient is a prominent person in society, is a top politician, etc., and has got a condition. Okay, and as soon as the person leaves your consulting room, then you start talking, you start gossiping about him or her with your colleagues, and whilst patient are there, you know, this can potentially lead to you know, litigation against you and then your facility. Let's be aware of that. It's a privileged position. Okay, role as a dietitian or nutritionist. It's a privileged position that we should guard safely. We should guard it safely. All right, to protect ourselves, protect the image of the profession. Okay, and of course also protect the public good. Also, of course, we must not bring our profession into disrepute because of our actions and inactions. Okay, all right. So as professionals, we should not unduly criticize any colleagues, subordinate students, junior colleagues, other interns, or even patients, etc., in public and in front of other patients or clients. So if you have any constructive criticism or suggestions to offer your subordinates or your junior colleagues or students, you can do that in camera, not in front of your patient or client. Because the next time, after 2-3 years, they are employed in your facility, they are the dietitian, the same patient may come, and they may not be willing to see them. Okay, they may not be willing to open up to the patient because already you have denigrated this individual in front of them, that they are incompetent, they cannot do the job. You are the only one who can do the job. Okay, you do that, you are harming your professional image of your colleague. You are also harming the professional image of the dietetic professional. Oh, those group of people, when you go there, they will just be insulting themselves. They are always gossiping among themselves. Okay, so then your patients or your clients will not even feel comfortable to come to you. How safe will their personal information be? How safe will their health and medical records information be with you? Okay, all right. So please, let's be aware of this. So we want to be a very professional body. That's when people come across you as a dietitian, or they hear you are a dietitian or nutritionist. Okay, they give you the utmost respect. That's we deserve as nutrition professionals. Okay, all right. So before I continue, when we make ourselves and profession and to the larger extent the professional association respectable. Okay, that's when, as a professional body, we can also get projects and contract that can also inure to the benefit of the members. Okay, so care should be taken when giving a second opinion to confine it to the issue and not the competence of the first professional. Okay, so dietitian A, nutritionist A saw the patient first on day one. Okay, and the next time you are the one continuing the care. Okay, or they choose to come and see you. They have some issues with the weight management prescription offered by the first nutritionist or the dietitian. Okay, and then so you now feel that, hey, you are now the ogoro, yeah? You are now the big lady or the big man in nutrition dietetics. And so then you run down your other colleague and the intervention that he or she offered. You run down the person, attack the person, the personality of the person, etc. We don't do that. So when you do that, you don't instill confidence in the patients about nutrition or the dietetic profession and about your other colleagues. So like when you are not there, nothing can go on. Okay, and without limiting this to the clinical setting alone. Okay, so maybe you are a nutrition tutor or a lecturer somewhere. Okay, you go to class, you run down your colleagues in the hospital, run them down in front of your students or your other colleague lecturers, you run him or her down on what he or she has been, etc. If you have any constructive suggestion or criticism, why don't you see your colleagues and then make suggestion and give resources, etc. that will help. And by so doing, you build up your colleague, you build up the profession, and also build up your students or subordinates. So the same thing also happens. The same vein, if you're in the hospital or clinic, and then the student comes from the training institution, and you run down the institution, run down your colleague nutritionist or dietitian who is teaching them, etc. Okay, let's not do that. When you do that, then the students start asking, so is this the profession I'm entering? What kind of profession is this? Okay, because when they go to the world round, they see how the kind of respect, okay, and the support that the medical students get from their clinician supervisors. Okay, so let's be mindful of that. Let's help to make our professional image as a professional body attractive, okay, to people within and outside the profession. All right, so of course, appropriate conduct in the setting we find ourselves. So how we carry ourselves, even your dressing, your dress should inspire confidence in your client, should inspire confidence in other professionals. Okay, so why would a particular doctor refuse to refer patients to you? Sometimes we may not understand. Maybe the way we dress shabbily to the clinic, wearing slippers and all shabby dressing, they don't really feel that they can trust you with their patients. Okay, so you don't get referrals. So sometimes it may not be about the doctor not knowing about you, your presence there as a dietitian nutritionist, but how you carry yourself. Okay, may go a long way to also impact. And by so doing, we are harming our professional image and then that of our professional body that we belong to. So at all times, when carrying out professional duty, you must act in a way to maintain confidence, instill confidence. Okay, so I've mentioned the issue of appropriate dressing. Dress to inspire confidence. Okay, I'm sure if we should make that our overarching aim, okay, about the specific things to wear will not really matter. Okay, so dress to inspire confidence. All right, and also dress to protect yourself, dress to protect your patients and your clients from cross infections. And also, you must not work whilst under the influence of any substance that is likely to impair your performance of your duty. Okay, so misuse of substances like alcohol, drugs, etc. You should not be engaged in that, and you should not promote that as a nutrition professional. Okay, so there has been a story about a particular dietitian in a facility who will come to the office drunk. Okay, so in that situation, what kind of confidence or trust would our patients have in us if we do that. So are you not going to tell the patient to stop taking alcohol so that the weight will come down, so that the cholesterol will be controlled, etc.? Yes. So let's be aware of it. If we have issues, personal issues, etc., let's seek appropriate help. Let's seek appropriate help instead of engaging in substances that would destroy our professional image and that of our patients or clients' well-being. Okay, so now we would now focus on the GAND principle of non-maleficence. Okay, so the GAND principles of non-maleficence based on the GAND Code of Ethics. Okay, so we'll try to bring ourselves to appreciate what they actually mean and how we can apply that to ourselves as nutrition and dietetics professional to improve our professional capacity and then also image as a profession. All right, so non-maleficence. So the whole thing borders on competence. So be competent to cause no harm. Be competent to cause no harm. Okay. Well, just as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I said that you cannot give what you don't have. Okay. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give the nutrition information or the dietetic information that you don't know. You cannot do that. If you attempt to do that, you end up causing harm to the patients. Okay, so the nutrition and dietetic professional, right in the GAND Code of Ethics, what we have there is that we should practice based on sound scientific principles and current information. So it should be evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice. Using of course, within the areas of competence, our professional competence and remits. Okay, so we should continuously develop and enhance our expertise and recognize limitation. Very, very important. So first, our practice should not be based on how we feel or what we feel. Okay, is the right thing to do. Okay, it should be based on evidence, scientific evidence, and current information. So colleagues, so if we are still doing the subjective, patient came and I prescribed low salt, high fat, low salt, low fat, high fiber diet. That is it. That's all that we have done for the patient. And then you write that in the consulting your medical records. That thing we have abandoned about 10 years or so ago. Now we do evidence-based practice. Okay, we follow the nutrition care process. Okay, in offering care for our patients. Okay, so if once we're in school, that was not taught. Okay, there's nothing bad about that. What do? You bring yourself up to date. You bring yourself up to date. You learn. Look for opportunities to learn about the nutrition care process or any other current development in the field. Okay, so there's nothing wrong about not knowing, but what is wrong is not taking steps, okay, to acquire the knowledge that's that we don't have. All right. Okay. So, and of course, very importantly, we should always recognize our limitation as nutrition dietetic professionals. Okay. So we should know the boundary, the borderline between us and then the physiotherapist, between us and the exercise professional. Okay, we should know the boundary between us and then the social worker or the psychologist and the hospital or in the facility. Okay, we should always know the boundary. Okay, in our practice. Okay, so that we don't go and then seem to offer exercise prescription and the patient feels that they have had all the information about exercise and then they don't go to see the expert and the condition doesn't improve. When we do that, we are causing harm. We end up causing harm to the patients. Specific example, So you have a patient who has got a heart disease, or maybe a heart problem, or who is recently recovering from a heart attack, has come to see you, refer to you because of hyperglycemia, high blood glucose level, or dyslipidemia, etc. And then there's some weight gain, there's some overweight situation with the patients. So then you are recommending exercise, vigorous intensity exercise as part of your intervention, because you want the patient to lose weight. Of course, that is good for the patient to lose it, but in the context of the patient's condition, the heart situation, okay, the exercise I'm prescribing may cause harm to the patients. Okay, so know that you may have to bring in the exercise specialist to help the patients. Okay, if the patient will need to see the physiotherapist, or you have an exercise specialist in the facility, make the necessary referral. Okay, it shows that you are professional. Okay, and patient or clients, when they realize that you always stop at the boundary, you don't try to cross the boundary, they will have confidence in you, because they will know that my dietitian or nutritionist will not do what he or she doesn't know, okay, regarding my situation. So they have more confidence in you, okay, rather than trying to do things that are outside your professional remit. So it is required of us, colleagues, just to bring our minds back to what we are talking about. We're talking about ethics, and ethics borders on standards of behavior accepted of us. So over here, it is expected of us that we demonstrate in-depth scientific knowledge of food, human nutrition, and behavior. So in your facility or in your workplace, if you are the nutritionist or the dietitian, it's expected that you have able to demonstrate in-depth knowledge when it comes to food, human nutrition, behavior, and then the interrelationships. You should be the experts in that. How do you do that if you don't update yourself, you don't update your training, your knowledge, etc.? All right. So, and we are also expected to assess the validity and applicability of scientific evidence without personal bias. Yes, without personal bias. So as it is, evidence-based practice as it is, not because I feel that this product was good for me. So because of that, I have to prescribe that for all my patients. Okay, I tried this weight management approach and it worked for me. So every patient of yours has to go through that. And if any other person had given use any other method or approach, okay, then you run down that dietitian or nutritionist, okay, because you feel that, well, you have tried it, it works for you, so it should work for everybody. No, it doesn't work. It should be scientific, and it should be based on scientific, evidence-based, scientific information. And remember that whatever we also prescribe or recommend, it should be individualized, okay, individualized, especially when we are working in the clinical setting where we deal with individuals. Okay, all right. So interpret, apply, participate in or generate sound research evidence, or conduct sound research to enhance practice, innovation, and discovery. Yes, so it's also expected about if we are also involved in research in your nutrition practice, research your dietetic practice, or you are a full-time researcher, or you are a tutor or lecturer engaged in research. Okay, it's expected that you conduct sound research. Sound research. So you don't collect data without going through the acceptable scientific methods in that particular field or on that particular topic. You use the wrong methodology to conduct your research, and then you come to generalize, or you come to apply it in your practice. When you do that, you may end up causing harm to the patients. sound research. So students, for those of us who are students, BSc students, or master students, PhD in nutrition or dietetics who may be listening to this workshop, it also applies to us. Okay, so you don't go sit in your room and then collect data on your page or a particular issue in dietetics or topic in dietetics. Okay, and then you come present that as genuine. Okay, so that is fabrication of data. Okay, and it is unethical, it's unacceptable practice from us as researchers. So make sure that you do the right thing. So the motivation is to do no harm. The motivation, when you are doing no harm, remember you are doing good. So do no harm, do the right thing. The right thing may be demanding, may be difficult, etc. But let's go through that. And when we do, at the end of the day, we end up help improve our society and also push our national development agenda. So recognize and exercise professional judgment within the limits of qualification and collaborate with others. Yeah, so we have mentioned this before. We should be able to know where our boundary lies, okay, where our limit also lies. So if you are, depending on your qualification, if it's necessary for you to upgrade to the next level, okay, seek opportunities to do that. Okay, for some people, they even qualify for study leave to upgrade themselves in the field, but they feel that, oh, it's not necessary. After all, every 3 years, every 4 years, I'll be promoted. So why should I bother myself? Because when you do that, you are not going to get yourself abreast of the kind of development in the area. You keep doing the old thing in the same old way and get the same old results, ineffective results. Okay, so let's seek opportunities to improve ourselves whenever they arise. Okay, and that said, don't run away from your clinic or don't run away from your practice and leave the patients seeking opportunities. That's really selfish to do. And of course, you are not helping the patient. You are causing harm to the people in the community who have been referred to you for your intervention. So let's do the right thing. All right, so seek counsel or make referrals as appropriate. Of course, this also borders on recognizing your limits. Okay, and act in a caring and respectful manner, mindful of individual differences, cultural and ethnic diversity, and in your the discharge of your routine duties as a nutrition or dietetic professional. You should be respectful to your patients or your client, irrespective of the background. Whether they are wearing a very nice shiny shoe or not, whether they come in suits or not, treat people fairly and respectably. All right. So the same thing applies to your subordinate student, as we mentioned earlier on. All right. So objective evaluation of performance for employees, co-workers, candidates for employment, students, institutions, award or scholarship. Yes. So when you are called upon to assess potential employees in your establishment, people have applied to work in your facility as dietitians or nutritionists, or your district. Okay, the district has is employing nutritionists and dietitians, and then you have been called upon to be part of the panel and provide objective evaluation, objective assessment and recommendation. So pick the right candidates. Pick the right candidates so that you offer the best services to the people in that catchment area. Okay, all right. So students, assess them objectively. Don't favor students. They are in your clinic to study you, or they are in your nutrition facility to understudy you, and provide objective assessment. Don't attempt to be too nice to the patients, and then when you need to correct them, you don't. Okay. Give objective and fair assessment to your student. Give objective, fair constructive feedback to the patient. If the patient is not doing well, don't say the patient is doing fine. Okay, you know, sometimes we are in the training institutions and then you know the strength of the patients, of the students. Come back and then you see the kind of assessment the patient, the students have. Of course, there are some students who are exceptionally good when it comes to practicals. Okay, but what we are saying is that be fair, so that the students will be able to work on whatever deficiencies that they may have. When you do that, remember in the future they will become the professionals attending to the people in your facility or the general public at large. Okay, so let's help train very good students that will offer very good services for the benefits of the public and our national developments as well. All right, so co-workers, when they are due for promotion, don't sabotage them in your assessment if you are the head. Okay, so when you do that, you demoralize them and they don't give their best when they seeing the patient or the people assessing their services. Okay, so you as a nutrition and dietetics professional or practitioner will make all reasonable efforts to avoid bias in any kind of assessment or evaluation you do. So for those of us who are privileged to be part of the accreditation committees, national accreditation committee to assess programs at various institutions, or part of the accreditation committee of the regulatory body, AHPC. Okay, be objective. Okay, so the intent, the motivation will be to do good, not to denigrate a particular institution, but give constructive feedback. Of course, where there are deficiencies, point them out. When you do that, the institution would work on them in good faith. So that the student that we are all training will also come to impact positively on our national development agenda. So let's be fair and equitable in what we are doing. Okay. So the principle of beneficence. Okay. So the GAND principle of beneficence, what are they, and how can we make ourselves abreast with them and apply them in our routine practice as nutrition and dietetic professionals? Okay. So beneficence. So I'm saying that act responsibly to benefit others. Act responsibly to benefit others. So beneficence is to do good. To do things or offer intervention or procedures that will benefit your service user, your patient, your client, your student, etc. Right. So contribute to the advancement and competence of others. Okay, so your subordinates, your students, any opportunities, expose them to the opportunities, expose them to opportunities for them to go and upgrade themselves. So if you are the head of departments, and then there are opportunities for dietitians to go for training outside your facility, outside the country, which you have already benefited from. You don't sit on the memo, don't sit on the letter. And don't keep it away from your subordinates or colleagues in the office. Okay, expose them to the opportunity. When they come back, they are coming with newly acquired skills and knowledge that will come to also help your department or your units, your patients, your hospital, etc. Right. So let's and participate in and contribute to decisions that affect the well-being of patient and clients, of course, and the public at large. And then respect the values, the rights, knowledge, skills of colleagues and other professionals. So let's respect our other colleagues. Okay, where they are falling short, let's constructively, okay, give them feedback that would help them rather than unduly criticize and to demoralize them. Let's not do that. Okay, and then of course, and other professionals as well. Okay, so respect the input of other professionals. So the physio team, the physiotherapists, the social workers, And then other professionals that you are working with in your area of practice, whether in academia, clinical setting, or any other institution you find yourself. Okay, so let's work collaboratively to help push the public good. All right, so the nutrition and dietetics professional shall uphold professional boundaries. We have already highlighted on this in a previous presentation. They refrain from romantic relationship with any patient or client, surrogates, supervisees, or students, etc. But these may actually impair on your professional judgments. Okay, this may impair on your professional judgments. And at the end of the day, you don't give the right objective intervention that the patients or clients requires. Okay, all right. So, of course, we work with human beings. So if you have any sort of romantic feelings, etc., with your client, you have to be able to step aside and let some other colleague take over the intervention. Okay. All right. So refrain from verbal, physical, or emotional sexual harassment. This is not expected of us as nutrition and dietetics professionals. It's not expected of the high standard required of nutrition and dietetics professionals. Right, so refrain from communicating false, fraudulent, deceptive, misleading, disparaging, or any unfair statement or claims about your colleague. And because you're not happy about your colleague's progress, you see all sorts of things about him already behind there. You go for meetings and opportunities arise that your colleague can take over. Can take advantage. And then you don't speak well of the person. When you do that, they may put someone there who is not a nutrition dietitian, and then we don't promote or project ourselves eventually as a nutrition body. So those opportunities may go to a different person. So maybe in your facility, maybe there's a committee in your facility, and then you are the head of department, you go for a board meeting or any other meeting, and they request that you nominate people, and then you don't even think about your own colleagues who have the competencies to be able to take advantage of such. They may give it to some other professional groups. Okay, and the next time they are the ones we are seeing, they are the ones we are hearing of. Okay, so let's take advantage. Let's beware of this. So the nutrition and dietetics professional shall inform the public and colleagues of their services using factual information only. Yes, using factual information. So you don't make false claims that you're going to cure somebody's diabetes in the next 1 month, as some people make a claim all over the place. You don't do that. Okay. We would, as professionals, allow our professional goodwill to be used. Professional goodwill, to the intent to do good. So the intent to do good and not to do harm. Right. So in whatever endorsements or venture or commercial contracts that we may be involved in, whether as a professional body, as GAND, so as the executive, we have the privilege to be serving in our position. So we make sure that we don't pull the profession, GAND, into deals that will promote products that are not really based on scientific knowledge. So whatever engagement, endorsements that we are promoting, it should be to make a positive health statement. So like I mentioned previously, so there are some products, there may be some products that you are aware of, and that may even be available in your facility. Okay, let the patient have choice, the right to choose, give them the various options. If they choose to buy your milk or your sugar or your high fat product, or whatever it is, let them choose to. Don't impose it on them. Okay, all right. Okay, so in conclusion, And we'll end here so that we can have, I see a number of chats in the chat box. Hopefully some of them are questions that we would want to discuss. So I'll end here and then we'll use the rest of the time to discuss the questions or comments that might have come up in the course of the presentation. So the nutrition and dietetics professional should be minded that they have a responsibility and they have a duty, and that responsibility is a high standard expected of us. So our profession is it's a very respectable profession. You know, people hear that you are a dietitian, they give you, they treat you in a respectful way, manner. Okay, so it's a high responsibility and high standard expected of us to offer intervention or service that will cause no harm to our clients and to our students, if we are academics or research or whatever, to our research participants as researchers, nutrition researchers, etc., or things that will actually put the reputation of the profession into disrepute. We should not be involved in that. So the high standard expected of us is to cause no harm, but to do good, and ensure that whatever service we render, we inure to the benefits of the service user. And of course, the service user is your patients, your clients, your students, okay, or of course, and then to the larger extent, the public and as a whole. Thank you very much for your attention. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins Afriyie. This is a very detailed presentation. I think that some of the questions I wrote down, before I will finish, then you have answered. So I don't know. It's now time for us to have interactions, questions, clarifications, and contributions. So please, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat box. I will read it aloud. And also, if you want to do an oral question, kindly raise your hand and I'll call you. Thank you so much. Once again, Mr. Afriyie. Right. So I think there are two questions here. So the first one is from Mr. Percival Agodo. So please, what qualifies as harm in the cause of no harm cliche? What qualifies as harm? Then the second one is what is the procedure for redress in case you notice that someone has gone against the ethics? All right. So these are the two questions.
All right. So thank you, Aldi. So to the first question, what constitutes harm in the no harm components of non-maleficence, if I get it right? Yeah. So anything that you do, okay, so that will not inure to the benefit of the patient or your client or service user, may cause harm, and that harm may be emotional, may be psychological. It can also even be financial. Okay, harm to the patient. So, and I think I mentioned this in the course of the presentation. So you talk down your patients, okay, and look at your sugar level. Your sugar level is so high. You are probably following your diet. You eat so much, etc. So your patients may see the whole intervention as something difficult to really go through, and we are not encouraging them. So they see that it's your intervention or diet or nutrition in general is difficult. It's not really a friendly thing to go through, and they may all the same actually drop out from your clinic, go and seek help from people who may give them misinformation, etc. And the next time you see them on the wall with complications, we have caused harm just by the way we spoke to them. And also financial, we impose a product on a patient that they cannot afford. But because you are the one who is the authority in the area prescribing, you are the doctor of food prescribing it, you are forced to mobilize all the reserves, empty the bank, the family bank accounts to get it, to the detriment of other members of the family, the children, etc., the other needs in the family. Okay, you are causing harm, financial harm to that extent. Okay, so really the whole point is that we are altruistic in whatever we do. Okay, so whatever we do it with good intents. I don't know if I've been able to address that. And the second point, if you can just remind me briefly, I'll be happy to.
Yes, so the second point is, what is the procedure for redress in case you notice that someone has gone against the ethics?
Yeah, so if someone has gone against the ethics, I alluded to this in the course of the presentation, that we should not turn a blind eye. Okay, so when someone violates the ethical principles, it is expected of us. So ethically, the standard we made, it's expected of us not to turn a blind eye. So you have to report to the appropriate authority. Okay, the first may be, if you're in the same work environment, maybe the next level, your superior. If it's outside your remit, maybe the necessary professional body or someone above the person who can be able to take the necessary action. Okay. So we should not turn a blind eye. So they are actually channels of redress.
Yes, yes. So I think that is it. Samuel Samson. So if you are in a department, you are in a school, a university, a clinic, then if it's a colleague, I think the peer review is important. Sometimes we break ethics and we may not be aware. So we draw the attention of the colleague. If the person is your colleague, you are the same level, the same par. Then maybe if the person is belligerent, then you can go ahead and report to your supervisor, your superior, so the head of department or the person in the same profession in your department, right? So if it happens that the one breaking or breaking the ethical rules is actually the head of the department, then you would have to write to the governing board. The governing board. Now we haven't established. We have the zones, the zonal groups. So we have the northern, the middle, the southern, and the central western. Now, when we start operationalizing these groups well, whichever zone you are, you can raise it to your zonal rep, and if they are not able to solve it, it will come to the governing board. If it comes to the governing board, then the person will be called to face the disciplinary committee of GAND. Yeah, so that would have been the final place to redress. Then they will give a recommendation to the governing board for action, right? So this is the level. Remember, we adopted the procedure for redress from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics USA. So at the last meeting, last AGM where we adopted it, we had to use a lot of do a lot of modification to it. So the final GAND ethics that we will print, you have those procedures to at the back. But that is the procedure. At our own levels, heads of department go to the zonal shepherds, then it comes to the disciplinary committee of GAND to be acted upon their report by the governing board. All right. So I think maybe Afriyie, the exotic dietitian, has a question. He said, in the case of non-compliance of the patient, is the dietitian permitted to tell the patient the truth about what they are doing and the impact on their health, or because you don't want to hurt their feelings, you don't say anything? Okay, Adi Afriyie.
All right. So, of course, we are obligated to give the rights as well as accurate and detailed information that will help our patients in their treatment or whatever intervention they are getting from us as professionals. So we are obligated to tell them the whole story, the full picture. Okay, yes. So if a patient is non-compliant, we would violate the principle of non-maleficence if we get upset, okay, and then we start talking down the patients, okay, blaming them for their actions and their inactions, etc. So in the manner in which we communicate the information, the right information, okay, would also help, okay, your patient in changing direction, and then of course following your prescription that you have for them. So yes, we should let them know the right thing. If they are not following it, let them know. But it is the manner, it is how we deliver that information that oftentimes cause harm, and the psychological, emotional harm. When we talk down the patients, they get demoralized. They may not even show up in the consulting room again because of how we spoke to them. And when we do that, like we said during the presentation, we are not helping them, okay, but we may rather end up causing harm because they go seek some help from a nutritional dietetic quack. That doesn't help. So yes, we have a responsibility to let the patients know the truth. Okay, but from experience, many of us know that when you do it in a manner that's should I say, you communicate well that information to the patients. It will go a long way to help them change from non-compliance to a compliant patient. I don't know if
All
that
right.
helps.
All right. Yeah. So we are allowed to explain to them, assuming the person is even deciding not to. Like I had a patient who was referred on account of uncontrolled hypertension, and the weight was so high, and the doctor felt that if we could reduce the weight whilst being on the DASH diet, it can help. The patient said that she's not heavy, so the way the weight is okay. I took time to explain to her what the relationship between the weight and the pressure. He said that she doesn't think that the problem is with the weight. We should give her the food that will let the pressure go down. Yeah. So sometimes in practice, it can really infuriate you. It can shake you off balance. But I think what we are learning is that after all, we cannot give unsolicited advice. So if the person doesn't want what you want to give, no matter how good it is, we cannot become annoyed or angry and talk down on them or insult them, or decide that, okay, because they are saying they won't come for care, you will not tell them the whole truth about the matter. It's a difficult thing to do as a professional, but that is what professionals are for. All right. Okay, so I think I have Percival's hand up. Please, Percy, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, ID Baby. Well, this is not exactly a question, it's a contribution. Please, Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, so I think the question I asked and the question ID Mavis asked are actually connected.
Okay.
So the question is, what is harm? I think we have to be careful how we interpret or define the word harm. To do no harm, yes, means that you should not injure, like my Nigerian professor would say, injure the client. But you must also admit that harm has different dimensions, and R.D. Collins made it very clear. There's a emotional dimension, there is a physical dimension, there's a financial, there's a social, and there's even the psychological dimensions. So you may not necessarily, even the mere fact that you having the client has been referred to see a dietitian can actually be a source of harm. And your very presence, seeing them, can actually be a source of harm to them, because at this point, people are looking at their personal preferences and their personal beliefs. So I think we should be open to the understanding that when it comes to these two concepts of doing no harm, beneficence and non-maleficence, it's a spectrum of things. You may not intend to, but then you may still result in that, because people will respond differently because of their individual preferences. What is important is that as a professional, you should be in the position to know that this action I am taking, or this decision I am trying to communicate, or this step I am trying to apply is not intended to cause harm, or if possible, is to reduce the harm or cause the minimal possible harm. I mean, the harm, is that a phrase?
Minimum harm possible.
Yes,
possible.
minimum.
Exactly. Yeah. The minimum harm possible. Because in whichever way you look at it, to tell someone like you, your client, who is comfortable with her weight, maybe in her family, she's like the lowest BMI at 35.
Yeah.
Okay. And so she doesn't see a problem with that. But then to say that that is a problem to you because of your medical or dietetic training, it becomes a very complicated conversation, because in her family, her preference for weight is perfect. So in that case, it's a shared decision-making conversation. What you try to do, provide the information. You will still cause harm irrespective, but then yours is to provide the information and ensure that you are helping the person arrive at the decision by themselves, that, okay, I think it's important to do something about it. Thank you. Over.
All right. Thank you so much.
And just to,
Mavis, yeah.
Yes, please. Just to add to what Percival is saying, I think he understands where I'm trying to go with this. There's also something called patient-inflicted harm, whereby by you not giving, the patient is self-sabotaging or self-inflicting, and your job is to minimize or reduce the harm that they are then inflicting on themselves. So that term is very dicey. If we are not careful in how we go about it, it can be used very loosely, and at the same time, it can come back to bite us, because the way you perceive harm may not be the way the patient perceives harm. When you are providing the honest truth of the situation, the pros and cons, they may feel that you are being, even in your nicest way, gentlest way possible, they may see that as being harmful because, oh, and meanwhile, in your mind, you're not intending to be harmful, but you're providing the facts as they are. So please, I just want to reiterate that that term needs to be gently massaged and very carefully dissected, because it can flip either way. Because when a patient is being self-inflicting harm, and you, in your efforts to be supportive, actually allowing them to be more harmful to themselves because you're not telling the truth in an effort to be harmless, you are in essence doing what? Actually causing harm. I know it sounds a bit convoluted, but I hope I'm getting my point across.
Yes, it's clear. So you see, one thing that R.D. Collins said that is important is that we must not be high and mighty in our own little empires. Let's collaborate. Let's speak to our colleagues when something is bothering our minds. Whether when we are our decision towards our clients is not so clear to us. Let's speak to others so that we can help ourselves. We shouldn't allow ourselves to fall into breaking the rules before now. It may not be peer review. If we are not careful, it's now going to be legal, which we'll discuss next week. So let's be very cautious and let's know that when I wake up and I go to KNUST to lecture, I wake up and go to Tema General Hospital to see patient, or go to that private hospital. Your purpose is to go and help people, not to go and harm them. So when you get there, and even when you think you are helping and the person is saying that they feel harmed, let's not say this one is not harmful, it's rather helpful. Don't let us do that. Let's do our best to, like Percy would say, minimize any possible harm as much as possible, and have clear intention to do good, not to do harm to our clients. I don't know.
If I may just add something small.
Yes, please. Just a moment,
okay.
Colin. Justine Kumsin, did you want to say something? Okay, Ardi, please go on.
Yes, so I just also want to add that, sometimes I feel that we should also give our clients the opportunity of being exposed to a second opinion. Okay, because sometimes, because you are the sole person they are seeing, especially if you are working with colleagues, you have other professionals in the same field with you, and they are exposed to you alone, they may feel that what you are doing to them may be causing them some discomfort or harm. Okay, but when they get exposed to a second opinion, they may actually find out, oh, so this information is actually the right thing. It's not the personal feeling or opinion of my attending the dietitian. So it's the same consistent information. So sometimes when we also face with this dilemma or getting this feedback from the clients, it may also be useful if they are also given the benefits of getting a second opinion. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think something, yeah.
Sorry if I just a quick addition.
Okay.
So whilst we are looking at second opinion for the patients, we should also be minded about confidentiality conversations on the part of the practitioner, because then you may also want to be seeking second opinions on what you are planning to do for the clients, and that may actually go on to breach other forms of ethics. So I think in all cases, the concept is shared decision making. So the client is with you, you have done your assessment, you have a difficulty, a dilemma within yourself as a professional. Be clear to the patients about the limits of your dilemma, or what your issues are, what your concerns are, and let the client be clear of what his or her preferences are. And then if you think that you are not able to get the clients to go with your suggested recommendations, it's okay to ask the client, would you want us to bring in a second person to to help us decide? That in that case, the person is giving you, is using their autonomy. You are respecting the client, and the client has the power to make a decision, a determination of whether or not a second opinion is necessary, even at the point of consultation. And that is what actually helps the decision to be framed. But then if in our certain years, we may not have the privilege of another colleague at present, but then it's okay to say to the client that, look, at this point, we are at a deadlock of a sort. Can we reschedule or refer? Or either you reschedule the decision until a further time, or you basically refer the client to another colleague, because it would also depend again on whether or not the client is willing to accept that. so that at the end of the day, the decision is not made by you. The fact that a client walks into your consultation room or office does not mean that the client must live with a plan or with a diet sheet or a dietary solution. Sometimes the solutions is just simple. It's a simple referral, and that is where you are. That is when you are working within the remits of your boundaries, and that's how we are able to help the client, to help them without causing harm to them. Because in whatever way you do, the harm is inevitable because you cannot measure all forms of harm. But what is acceptable is that the client accepts to take the risk that goes with the harm associated with the decision that you or him, or you and her, or both of you came to a conclusion on. Over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And I think Samson says, if the patient refuses care or professional advice or whatever decision you will come to, please always remember to document it for future purposes, so that you will not be found wanting.
Yes, that is very important. I think it also borders on the issue of professional remits, second opinion, etc. Of course, that should be done in consultation with the patients. You know, we as dietitian nutrition, we sometimes we experience this. The patient comes to our office for as a case of diabetes, hypertension, and they don't really know why they have come to see at the hospital, because the referring practitioner didn't mention anything about nutrition or dietetics. It was just a note, oh, go and see the people who talk about food, their offices, you know, that kind of. So of course, it has to be done with the consent of the patient, and of course, it should be well documented. And the patient can decide. This is the hard truth. Patients can choose to either accept or refuse the intervention. Okay, but just as our contributor said, we have to make sure that we document it. Even physicians, I remember when I was at the stroke unit, patients would say that they want to go and continue their care at a prayer camp, etc. And then after engaging them with the pros and cons of their decision, if they still insist, they will need to, sometimes they're even asked to write to the facility about their intention to withdraw from the medical care. Okay, yeah, so very, very important, it should be documented, and any decision to bring in a third party or practitioner should, of course, be done with the patient's consent. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. It's 8 minutes past 4, which means that we are 8 minutes late. We were supposed to close exactly at 4. But I think our discussion has been very, very fruitful and insightful. I think all of us who have been on the call have added a lot more to our practice knowledge. So we have 4 key announcements. God willing, next week, we have Dr. Hayford, who will take us through the principle of justice to complete our 3-part series on our ethical document, the Code of Ethics. So please, next week, the same time, 2 to 4, let's make time and be part of it. I think it will help us. When we are highly ethical, we do a lot of things and we exempt ourselves from a lot of harm ourselves. Okay, number 2, we realize that the paid ones, you know, we've been having a series of CPDs. Some are free and some are paid. We are realizing that some join the CPD, but they don't pay. Some are also paying, but they don't join. Please, the purpose for the CPD is not because of the money or the registration, but so that all of us will be on the same page and practice well. It will be unethical for us to send your name to Allied Health Council that you did a CPD that you paid for but didn't attend. Some I know may say, oh, give us the recording, which they will never listen. Some also attend, but they don't pay. The small reduced monies are really required to help us to offset the cost of organizing these CPDs. So please, if you have attended any of the paid ones and you have not paid yet, you may get a notification from our secretariat. Kindly do pay. Those who haven't who paid but for one or two reasons couldn't attend, please send an official or formal request to us for the recording, and you promise us on your own honor that you will actually go through to learn the deep things we learned. Very important for us. Please, let's correct these ones so that we'll be on the same page, because the list will be taken to Allied Health Council very soon. We don't want a situation where it said, I attended, my name is not part because you did not pay, or you paid but you didn't attend and didn't also request for the recording, and that your name is not part because you didn't attend. We don't want that to happen to any of our members, especially those who haven't done any CPDs elsewhere and are using our CPDs to register. Please, you need these, you need to follow these guidelines very well for us. Okay. Also, there is a very important work afloat to create awareness on the negative effect of sugar-sweetened beverages on our health. This one is in Accra, starting from Obrasport, 8 a.m. to 12 noon on Tuesday, 15th November. So we'll do that float Tuesday, then the Wednesday, we'll have the Principle of Justice on Zoom. Please, the governing board is requesting that minimum of 20 GAND members are encouraged to be part of the float, and there will be free distribution of t-shirts and, of course, refreshment for the purpose. It's a 4-hour float. Remember, it will help you to burn some fats. It will help you to burn some excess cholesterol or triglycerides in your blood. So please, if you, as many of us that can, let's do our best to be part of the float. And also, within the week, so please, they will send a Google form on all our platforms. We'll send Google form on the Telegram platform and all the nutrition and dietetic platforms. Please do your best to fill if you want to be part, so that they can contact you for the mobilization. We were supposed to induct the newly qualified dietitians and nutritionists so that they can properly refer to themselves as registered nutritionists or registered dietitians. It was supposed to happen next week. We have rescheduled it to first week, our CPD in first week in December. Please watch out on the pages, the Google form, to pick out the number, the details of all those who have just passed their licensure will be sought, and the list will be used to plan for the occasion. We are planning a lot of good things for us. So those of us who didn't get their credentials last year, and those who have just gotten passed their licensure, please, all of you will be inducted, and that will be first week in December. We'll send you the details of how it will be done. Also, please watch out on your platforms. The Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics call for CPD topics for 2023. The submission guidelines will be put on our pages, God willing, on Friday. So please look at it. We have given spaces for the category A, B, and C. Let your suggestions reflect, and whether you have any suggestion with regard to topics that go only for nutritionists or dietitians or general, indicate all of them so that we can work with them and help ourselves, God willing, 2023. We are supposed to submit it by close of December to Allied Health Council so that they can approve it before we even do them. So it's very important that we help in this matter. Thank you so very much. And I want to say to all of us who came, the time is already gone, so today we may not take the pictures. But next week, yes.
Forgive me. Give me some 2 minutes to make a very important announcement.
Okay.
So if you recollect, we had we sent a circular around that we're boycotting the activities of the Allied Health Professions Council.
Sure.
So for the information of members, We are still reiterating the boycott of the AHPC's activities.
Okay.
But let me put this into context for members to understand. The AHPC and its board has taken some decisions that we feel strongly against. We think that they must listen to us. We are a key stakeholder in the process, and the decisions affect us, including the charges that they charge us. Now, unfortunately, Parliament has passed these charges. Now, what we are trying to do is to get the board to sit down and revise these charges so that you and I don't go and pay exorbitant fees, some of which are quoted in US dollars. Now, in the process, in the last week or so, we had engagements with them, and unfortunately, they have not kept their end of the bargain. They have not acted in good faith. So I see that today they've published a request that we should go ahead and renew our licenses for the coming year. Members, please. This is an official statement from the GAND, or from the Federation of Allied Health Professions. You are not to do that until further notice. Once I have said that, I must also say that because we are in the process of solving the problem, that doesn't mean you should stop attending CPD activities. So attend the CPD activities, collect the points and keep. But do not go ahead and start the renewal process with the Allied Health Professions Council. When you do that, what you are doing is to basically create divisions of a sort between the profession leadership and the council. What it means is that when the council has issues that we need to address, we will not be in the ethical position to address them because our members will not follow those two positions. So this is an ethical conversation. We think that we need to be regulated, but we also think that the regulation must be within the ambient of our resources. And as it stands now, the Allied Health Group has one of the highest fees, even though generally our salaries and remunerations are among the lowest. And so it is unfair for us to be the ones to be paying higher fees when other people or other colleagues in the service who are paid better pay less for the same service, essentially. So what we are doing as leadership is to try and get our regulator to revise these decisions and to make us pay commensurate fees. And we are saying that to get them to listen and to I'm using the word comply very advisedly, or to revise these fees. We've engaged them. They are not currently giving us, or they're not currently acting in bad faith, but we are still be hopeful that they would correct their steps and revise the rates. In principle, in our last meeting, we were able to achieve an agreement of revision. What is left is for this decision to go through the Minister of Health and then subsequently through Parliament for it to be firmed. But until now, that has not been done. So we are still encouraging members to hold off from renewing your licenses until we have resolved this impasse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Vice President of Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Mr. Percival Agodo. Well said. Please, it's time for us to take our pictures. If you can switch on or put on your video just for a moment, so that we just take some pictures. Yes. Hey, Alice, I've seen you. Adi Collins. Yes. So. Good. I can see Dr. Oh, he's missing. How do
you can't see me.
Where are you? Yeah.
You
I
can't
can
see me.
RD Chukudi. And I see Dr. Abdullahi Kasim. Kasim, where are you? Now I've seen you now. So we are
Thanks
taking
for your wonderful presentation.
Okay, we are okay. So just a minute.
Collins, thanks for your wonderful presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Vice.
Hey,
you're welcome.
Exotic dietitian.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, Alice, call your Deborah, Kweki Kwao, Marian Abrefi. I can't see your face. Oh, I'm taking the picture.
Prince, take the picture quickly. I'm parked somewhere. I need to
I've
move.
taken yours. Chief Ruby Atta. RD Chief Ruby Atta. I can't find your face.
Okay.
Sharon Robin, please. Maxwell Conland, I want to see your face so I can take the picture. Okay.
Also, for having taken mine.
Yes, I've taken yours.
Thank you.
All right.
How do you
All
call
right.
it? Well done.
Indeed, well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you capturing us individually?
No. I've taken everything. I'm done.
And we go
So-
now.
The man is
Yes,
taking-
please. Those of you who haven't filled the form in the chat box, please do so that we can capture you
Okay.
on the list. Thank you all for joining. We'll meet next week, God willing, Wednesday, 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.